Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast, and now here's the guy who's feeling very podcasty tonight. I'm Rob Cesternino back here with another edition of our Big Brother Monday Night Wrap Up, and I'm very interested to talk about what's going on here in Backwards Week. It's madness here in the Big Brother house. First, let me welcome in a guy who it's always a treat to talk to him, but especially today when it is the anniversary of the day that his builder first brought his robot body online. Here is Taryn Armstrong.
Yes, today's the day that my system updates. Everyone hates it. I have to restart, but I have risen. And I'm once again, I'm updated.
Risen the rocket?
Yes, I risen like a rocket.
Yes. Taryn, you would feel right at home on board the Odyssey, right?
Oh, absolutely. I love sci-fi, and I'm obviously I would know how to operate everything. They'd come to me. I'd have like a weird, creepy voice. It'd be great.
Yes. All right. And I'm very excited to be podcasting on a regular Big Brother episode for the very first time with this woman, Melissa Denny. Melissa, how are you?
I am good. Apparently, I also have a robot Twitter account now that is not me, by the way.
It looks so much like her.
What? There's like a Melissa bot.
It's me.
Yeah, there's a Melissa bot.
Yeah, there's a Melissa bot now.
And it's like the same exact picture as you, but it is like with like metal lipstick and then is like tweeting things out.
I feel like there needs to be a bigger distinction between the photos because it is confusing even me. I'm like, I don't remember saying that. Did I tweet this while I was sleeping?
Yes, do not put words in Melissa's mouth, Melissa Bot. All right, so very excited to talk about everything from this Monday night episode. And of course, we will get into all the live feeds after we play the spoiler warning. So a lot to talk through here tonight. Of course, Scott St. Pierre is standing by to take your questions. Hashtag RHAP for that later on in this show. So here we are. And again, if you're watching us on YouTube or on just on the website, remember this podcast is in our Wrap Ups feed and also in our Big Brother podcast feed, which you can subscribe to at robhasawebsite.com/wrapups or robhasawebsite.com/BB podcast. Taryn, also another announcement tonight. I'm very excited to add another show to the lineup. We've had live recaps after all of the episodes so far this season, but I've heard a lot of people chirping, hey, we need to hear from the LFC more.
Yeah.
We need to hear from the LFC every week. Hey, Rob, this is Brent again. Hey, we need to hear from the LFC. No, I'm very excited. We're missing out on. We don't get enough of the LFC during the week because we have a lot of great Big Brother guests. So, Taryn, I'm very excited to send off the LFC into their very own podcast.
Yes. That was really funny because it's totally true.
Yeah, due to Brent's popular request.
Yeah, no, but it's a great idea because a lot goes on during the week. That the way that the pacing is going right now, I've only been able to hear from you guys only one spot during the week. Sometimes you guys have a lot to say later on in the week, and then by the time it's your turn again. So, Taryn, starting this Sunday, tell us, what is the LFC roundtable going to look like?
Well, it's going to be the four of us, Melissa, Brent, Alex, and I, and we're just going to be talking about stuff that's happening on the feeds. It should be, once the veto is all settled, so we'll really get to talk about, everything that's gone down that week before we get into the episodes in the next week. It'll be a great spot because there's such a huge gap, especially this season, between the Thursday show and the Monday show. So we'll get into all the nitty-gritty details, and it'll be a lot of fun. Brent and I will argue a lot,
It should be fun. Again, it's a long space. I try to at least cover a little bit of the overlap on Friday with Alex, but this will be good, and it'll be here on a Google Hangout here on the Wrap Ups feed, and you guys will be able to ask questions of the LFC and get a sense of what's going on over the Big Brother weekend. So be on the lookout for that coming this Sunday. All right, let's talk through everything going on with Backwards Week, and I guess through the Neto winning the veto. Melissa, how's Backwards Week going for you?
I am very confused by it. I feel like it's not fully backwards. I feel like it's backwards when they want to call it backwards, and then not backwards when it's not backward. I don't know. I just feel like it's not clearly defined as backwards. They're just doing things in a weird order. So I'm not a huge fan of it so far. I feel like it's not quite what I had in mind when I originally heard Backwards Week. And I feel like it's a big missed opportunity. And now we're just kind of, it's kind of fizzled out because there's not really much.
Yeah. I have no idea what this Wednesday night episode is going to look like now, Taryn, now that we've had the veto played. I guess we're going to get the HOH ceremony on Wednesday.
I guess we'll get the veto ceremony because we just saw Netta win. We didn't see what she does with it. And then we'll probably see have not stuff and then maybe the HOH competition.
Okay. So we'll see ultimately how that plays out. So a lot of drama went into the picking of the nominations. And I think I was okay with all of that. I mean, it did make for some exciting moments in the show tonight. Karen is very scared of the bridge. She's very concerned, even though she was already HOH this season. She's very concerned something's going to happen to her in there. There was a lot of drama with Kevin deciding what to do. He gets caught up in a lie. I guess let's talk through that afterwards. Listen, a lot of people talking about Ika and her making her nominations. I saw in a number of places people saying Ika is so extra. What the hell is wrong with her?
I guess, I don't know. I kind of enjoyed her nominations. I thought that she was funny, and I guess she is pretty extra, but whatever that means. I'm not quite sure on the definition, but I guess people keep describing her as that, so she must be.
Yeah, I did think she was being a little bit of like, all of a sudden she was like a baby or a drunk person, like, oh my God, what's happening? Oh no, oh my God. Oh, Big Brother, stop doing this to me. Like, she was really having a fit, Taryn.
Well, yeah, okay. Like, tell me if I'm crazy here, but it kind of felt like she, especially once she got to the bridge, it felt like she thought maybe I'm being filmed and maybe this is going to be a great moment if Emily and Dylan are watching me say all these things, like with the letters.
Yeah, I feel like she was trying to recreate her letter moment.
Yeah,
I feel.
She's
like, I don't like you and I don't like you.
Yeah, this was like the Hangover 2 of shredding the letters, where we're just going to do all the same gags all over again. I was saying, like, for a moment, I was like, boy, Ika's not even pausing for a second to think, are the other house guests who aren't here listening to this? But she might have been hoping that was the case.
I feel like that is the, like, I feel like she would care more about having that, like, Emily and Dylan already know that she doesn't like them, so she'd be able to play it off, and that would have made for a great TV moment, so I'm sure she wanted it to happen.
Yeah. All right, so poor Gary, he ultimately ends up with, I think, 7 nominations total, or no, Dre had 7 and Gary had 6. Is that right, Taryn?
Yeah.
Okay. And Gary ultimately ends up in a bad spot because I've been a fan of what Gary has been doing from what I've seen so far this season. So sort of a tough spot for him to ultimately find himself in. This was like the Gary show tonight, Taryn. Was Gary either in every single scene or was every single conversation that he wasn't in about him?
I mean, he's certainly sort of the star of this week. I mean, he is, he's on the block. He's really going all over the place, trying to campaign, talking to everybody. He is the topic of most conversations. So I wouldn't say it's totally disingenuous, but it is following the same sort of line that they've been following since the start of the season, essentially.
Yeah. Melissa, how big of a Gary fan are you?
I'm a huge Gary fan. I'm very disappointed. I mean, I was not a huge Gary fan coming into this. I was kind of annoyed with him, and I just thought, like, oh, he's just going to be this giant personality who just attention. He's going to throw himself out there anytime. And I actually think he's playing really strategically. I was really enjoying his game. I mean, enough that I even wanted to talk about it on a previous podcast when there was really nothing to talk about in terms of Gary because he hadn't done anything. But I was really excited about where he was going with all of this. And now I feel like rug's been pulled out from underneath me because it's just like I was not expecting him to go this early or even like be considered to be going this early. So who knows? But
we knew that Gary was on Netta's radar. What did he do to potentially get himself into this position?
He campaigned for Cass. He's trying to deny that he campaigned for Cass, but he was probably more than anyone else, really, especially in the last couple days, going around trying to get people. He was saying, guys, let's consider keeping Cass. I'm not campaigning for her, but I'm trying to get you to think about possibilities where maybe we keep her. And that really rubbed some people the wrong way and got him in a lot of hot water.
All right. I want to talk about how much power Netta has in the house because I think it's very interesting because the shadow that Netta casts over this entire game is so huge. And Melissa, we ended up seeing tonight a little bit of Ika calling out Netta. You talked about on Twitter about how you were hoping that this whole season comes down to Netta versus Ika. Do you think that that is a realistic split we could potentially see?
I don't know if it's realistic, but it's ideal for me. I feel like that would be so fun to watch, to have two really strong women going head to head at the end, or even just like up until the end. Who knows? Like if they could rally their sides and just have an all-out war, it would be so exciting. Because I mean, they've been working together the entire time in the beginning, and I feel like the show is setting us up for that. Yeah. I think it'd be great.
Now, Taryn, I want to say something. Tell me if it's too hot of a take, and I will withdraw this comment. Does Netta have a good social game? Here's now, hold on. I don't flame me. Don't come for my wig on Twitter, everybody. But to me, it just seems like that Netta has almost no poker face in this game. That when she does not like somebody, it seems completely transparent that she does not like somebody. She seems like she makes a face. She seems unhappy. That when you tell Netta that something that displeases her, she shows it very much in her face. She's been immune this whole time. Do you think that she is doing maybe not the best job in the world at sort of hiding her intentions?
I mean, you're right here. Like, which is interesting because, you know, I've talked to some of the Big Brother players, and like I've talked to Dan Giesling, and he's one of those people that like you just immediately feel comfortable when you're talking to him in person. Netta is like one of those people, at least from my perspective. When I talk to her, she makes me feel awesome, and I feel like she has such a great social presence about her. But for some reason, this season, it's not really playing out. And maybe that was true of her previous season as well. And maybe John was more of the social element to her game, and she was more of the strategic element. And we're seeing that here. It's definitely it's strange to see Netta falling for some of these common traps in Big Brother.
Melissa, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that she's not forming the relationships that she necessarily needs to be forming at this point in time. I feel like a lot of her conversations are purely strategic and based around what do we do next, but I don't feel like she's forming those really strong bonds with people outside of her alliance. I think she's relying too much on that core six and just thinking that they're just going to go to the end. And when even if everybody else other than the core six, they're going to come for her first. I don't see a situation where she's protected by that six. She needs to be thinking outside of that alliance at this point in time, thinking of the end game.
It just seems to me, and again, I don't watch nearly as much of this as you guys do, but I feel like that the house is moving in a direction of that I am afraid of Netta, so I am doing this. Not necessarily that I am doing this because I love Netta. She's my friend, and that's why I'm doing these things, Taryn.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I feel like, trying to look back at her previous game when she was an underdog, when she wasn't in power, she was able to do a lot of really good things. But once she became in power, that was when she kind of made a couple mistakes with John that ended up with him cutting her. And so now that she's playing from ahead, we may be seeing her make a lot more of these mistakes. I feel like she's still playing a somewhat decent game, but she really has just gone way too far. She's winning these competitions when she really doesn't have to. I think that she has done a really good job of making her allies comfortable. Apart from Ica, obviously, like Kevin and Bruno love her. Cindy feels pretty good with her, but it's the people she doesn't like that she just isn't able to get along with as well, and that's what's really hurting her.
Melissa, if we were going to just like take the names off these stories and just tell you the details of what we were talking about, I mean, would this not sound like we were talking about like a Mike Boogie season 14 or something, like one of these people where it's like we would consider this like an alpha male in the house, sort of just like only, hey, this is our group, don't talk to those people, this is who we're gunning for?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds exactly like that. I'm kind of surprised that this is the direction Netta has taken her game. Because I also think that she shouldn't necessarily be making herself out to be the strongest person in her alliance or like the head of her alliance. I think that she had the opportunity to position herself as more of just a member of the alliance. We're all together, but I'm not in charge, I mean, because she's immune. She doesn't really need to be winning these competitions or be in charge of these decisions. I mean, Ica even said, like, well, this is your HOH, this is your decision. All the blame on Netta, and she's kind of just taking that. And she should be trying to push that away. So it's going to be tricky coming down to the end.
Taryn, you and I talked about last week about how, okay, Netta was going to be the HOH. She was going to get Cass out. You and I disagreed on whether it was a great move for her to get Cass out, but that's done. But what we both agreed on was that Netta needed to sort of like slink back into the shadows following the Cass eviction. That has not been the case. Am I correct in saying that?
You're 100% correct, and it's very unfortunate.
Yeah,
because I mean, like I talked with you about, like I liked the move to win HOH. I liked the move to get rid of Cass, but she had to completely disappear after that. She needed to use those precious weeks of safety to lurk back into the shadows. But instead, I mean, and this wasn't her fault, but instead, this is sort of a continuation of her HOH week, where it's Gary and Dre up on the block. And, there's nothing she can really do about that, but there is something that she can do about winning this veto. She really doesn't need to. Who cares about keeping the nominations the same? You're not in trouble. You don't need to protect every single person in your alliance, especially when they're probably not going to go up on the block if the veto is used anyway. You do not need to win this veto, Netta. I don't understand why you're doing it. You've already proven yourself. You've already won a competition. You've already gotten somebody out. You need to lay low at this point, and it's just not happening.
right. Was the concern actually? Did we ever find out what the official rule was that if the veto was played? Taryn, do you know exactly how that was going to work? Like, let's say William got the veto and he took Dre down. Would it have been the third highest vote getter?
They would revote for their replacement nominee. So they were fine as long as they maintained their majority. They would just put up another person, like Karen or something.
Right. Then they would have had a chance to sort of like pregame about what they wanted to do.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I'm sure we'll get back to Netta and talk more about what she's going through. Melissa, I want to talk about Kevin and this lie that he ended up getting caught in. Did you think that it was smart on paper to do what he did when he ultimately told the House that he was going to nominate Dre and Karen?
I think it was smart on paper because Gary was supposedly one of his allies. I mean, Gary thought that they were number ones with each other. So on paper, it's smart because him nominating his number one ally doesn't look good for him, and Gary would be furious. But not work out in his favor, the fact that nobody voted for Karen. So, on paper, good idea. In practice, not so good.
Taryn, what about the way that Kevin went back to his group and immediately corrected the lie? I thought it was beneficial that he was lying. Like they was like, hey, how come this alliance isn't all voting for Gary? I thought it was a good thing for him that he was able to say, okay, totally, I voted for Gary. I meant to do it the whole time. I just wanted to tell you guys the whole thing. And just I felt so bad that I had to lie, but I just had to do it that one time.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if as far as admitting that you lied, like immediately after you do it, like he did it about as well as you can do it, right? Because he was just like, guys, I'm sorry. Like what I did was I voted against my own best interests to support the group. And I just wanted to keep that a secret because I didn't want it to hurt me further than it was already hurting me. I'm so sorry. It was so dumb of me. Like I shouldn't have done it. And they were like, just get out of here, Kev. Of course you did it. It's fine, Kevin. Stop.
Yeah, it was a night of some lies that were not great. We saw Bruno also with Gary, and Gary was talking to a lot of the vets. Melissa, how do you think that Bruno did in trying to make Gary feel more comfortable about his prospects of staying?
I feel like not great. I just feel like nobody was doing a good job of convincing Gary that he was going to stay and that he was completely safe.
At least Kevin tried to make him feel better.
Yeah, except he didn't really give him any promises or tell him anything about how he's not going to go home. I just think that poor Gary, if I was in Gary's position, I'd be like, okay, I'm going home for sure. I don't believe these people at all. So,
Yeah. So I want to talk about the rest of the week and how it's going to play out, but I feel like I need to get into spoiler territory, and so I'm not sure on our Big Brother podcast how many people are only. Let me know in the chat room. Just help me direct the show in terms of. I'd like to get into spoilers sooner than later. Taryn, anything else from the episode that you want to discuss?
Well, I do think the Ica thing is really funny because like Ica, is giving Gary this like pep talk. We saw and this it's so funny about Ica where it's just like she is legitimately the perfect double agent because every single time she goes to the other side, she's fully on board. She fully believes it herself, and she has given this pep talk to like every single nominee that is the target and is like, come on, we're gonna do this together, screw them, and then she votes against them that week. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that it keeps working.
Yeah. Melissa, is Ica spreading herself too thin?
Potentially, but I'm loving it. So I'm totally cool with it. I'm absolutely on board. I want her to keep doing exactly what she's doing because I'm having a great time watching it and it makes for great feeds. So
okay. All right. Well, then let me give the spoiler warning and then we can come back and talk about that. Here we go. Hold on. I got to cue that up. Spoilers coming up. Odyssey launch spoiler warning.
The Office of Civil Defense has issued the following message. This is
a spoiler.
Warning.
A spoiler.
Warning means that an actual
spoiler
against this country has been detected and that protective action should be taken.
Yes. Okay. All right. Here we are. And let's get ready to talk about the spoilers. So Neda wins the veto. Neda's not using the veto. We have a new HOH. Melissa, could you tell us how Dimitris became HOH?
Dimitris is HOH, but I don't know how.
Oh, okay.
I was like, wait, I know this. Wait, I don't.
There was an endurance competition or some form of endurance competition.
Oh, right.
And Dimitris, for whatever reason, decided that he needed to win this to prove that he can win a competition that wasn't even suited for him, which just like, what are you doing, Dimitri? What is with these people winning these competitions that they do not need, right?
We don't know. All right, so Dimitris will have the one vote this week, and he will decide the fate of Gary versus Dre. Now, is this at all up for discussion, Taryn?
It was not up for discussion. It was pretty immediately Gary, and most of the house agreed. You know, it's Gary. It's got to be. If Karen was basically the only person that was like, no, I don't. Gary's my friend. But as I mentioned, Aika, she sways with the wind. And just before this episode started, she was talking to Dimitris about, hey, I want to keep Gary. I just want to be spiteful and keep Gary and like screw them. We're gonna use Gary to go after them. I don't know where that conversation went because the episode started and we did the podcast. But it's definitely not set in stone at this point, though I still expect Gary to leave.
Okay. Now, Melissa, the fascinating thing here is Dimitris is the HOH. He's the one person that decides all this. And we have heard him say only a week ago that I would do anything Aika told me to do. It doesn't matter if it was bad for my game. If Aika tells me to do it, I would do it. I may have echoed those sentiments. If Aika wants Gary to stay this week, does Gary stay?
I think he could stay. If Aika, this is kind of Aika's MO, is to very last minute decide that she wants the vote to go a different way and then successfully convince everyone to go that different way. So I think that if she wants Gary to stay, Gary will stay because Dimitris will do it.
Yeah. Now, here, I think everybody here with all due respect to Dre, I think everybody wants Gary to stay unless you are, very invested in the outcome of Netta and the 6 and that you feel like that would be a bad thing for Gary to stay. But in terms of excitement, I think if you're team excitement, you want Gary to stay. Is that fair, Taryn?
It depends on the kind of excitement you're looking for, but sure.
I mean, let's just say in a vacuum, which is the more exciting season? Dre stays in the house or Gary stays in the house?
I think Dre has a lot of potential. I don't know if Gary can go very far in this game.
Okay. All right. Melissa, can I get an amen from you?
Yeah, I want Gary to stay. Gary is the best feeds that I've been watching, and Gary and Aika, those two, and I want to watch them for a long time. If I'm going to be watching the feeds for the whole season, I want to be watching them. Gary's the one person who's made me laugh on the feeds. He's the one person who's made me go back and rewatch stuff because it was so funny. Gary and Aika together are hilarious. I think for entertainment's sake, I want to see Gary stay. Although it sucks because I think for like strategy and just gameplay, I really like Dre. I think that she's learning the game really quickly, and I think that she could go really far, but entertainment-wise, Gary.
Okay, so I'm actually surprised. It seems like that there is like a fairly decent contingent of people who are Dre fans want Dre to stay. So, all right, so maybe I'm not speaking for a majority, but let me give Big Brother Canada the out, hypothetically, if the vote went against Gary this week, okay? So we get Dimitris. He goes up there. He says, sorry, I vote to evict Gary this week. You're like, okay. And then Arissa is going to read the vote. And she says, okay, Dimitris has voted to evict Gary, but it's backwards week. And so now Gary, everything is backwards. You get to stay. And Taryn, you're scoffing, but this is karma. This is a reverse Topaz. It's backwards week. Gary died by the sword, and now he lives by the same backwards vote sword.
Yeah, Dre is very scared of this very outcome. She has legitimately been like, Dimitris, maybe you should vote me out because then Gary might go out instead. I don't know. I'm so scared that this is going to happen. What do I do?
Yeah. Melissa, what do you think about this?
Well, an interesting theory that I saw on Twitter, I think Dimitri's sister is running his Twitter account, and she tweeted this, that maybe that the rules are very vague. So maybe they say Dimitris can cast the sole vote to evict, but it can't be the 2 nominees. So anybody else in the house can be voted out. It's a possibility.
Why? Why would they do that? That makes no sense, Dimitri's sister.
Because
stick to running Dimitri's Twitter account and leave the theories to the professionals.
Backwards. Anything can happen. You don't know.
All right, but that's not even backwards. That's like random week.
Well, backwards
That's
would be
off
that
the
the
board.
people who would go out and aren't safe are safe. So
Taryn, is that
Could be a
holding any water to you?
I mean, it's a legitimate theory that's out there. People are thinking this is something that could happen because the wording of the rules just say that he has the sole vote to evict. It doesn't say who he has the sole vote to evict. So it's certainly possible if they wanted to. I don't like it. I wouldn't want to see that, but I would not put it past Big Brother Canada.
I mean, but what is this, like some LSD trip where we play a whole week where we have nominees and we play a veto and none of it even mattered, and it's just Demetrius, why don't you just tell us the person you want to have evicted? He didn't win some power, he just won an HOH. I mean, this would be like not even backwards. This is just completely ridiculous at that point.
When has Big Brother Canada has been completely ridiculous since season 1? Like,
I know, but
it has never not been completely ridiculous.
But at least there is like that they're trying to say there's a theme. I feel like that the audience, if it worked out where it was, okay, it's backwards week, Gary, that vote is actually not to evict you. I feel like that there would be a very high approval rating from the audience on that move, Taryn.
I wouldn't press the approval button.
You would not, but do you feel like that the overall audience, do you think that they would be excited to see this or no?
I think they would. I especially with the edit that Gary is getting and the footage that he's giving them in terms of like, I'm gonna stay and I'm gonna fight them, and yeah, I mean,
Melissa, was this not the most pro Gary edit of all time tonight?
This was very pro Gary, and in fact, I feel like I barely saw Dre at all. So I don't know what that means, but I don't even remember her being on the episode. So.
Right. But how amazing would it be though if Gary does manage to campaign himself and get to flip it? It would mirror his loss in Big Brother Canada 1 too. It would be like,
oh my god!
Yes, when Dimitri says, "I vote to evict Dre," Gary saying like, "Well, about that." It's actually Gary, you're evicted. He's like, no,
not again.
Dre. It's like. Yeah, it's like, yeah, but like check the tape. What a complicated scenario we would have. It would be very, very interesting to see how that plays out because look, I think it would balance things out. I know that there have been some people in the world who have said, oh, this whole season is fixed for Netta, which I think is patently ridiculous to say that. I do not believe that that's the case. But wouldn't that sort of balance things out, Taryn, where Netta's side, Netta has this free pass, but then Gary, it was sort of like a Fugazi week to begin with, where it wasn't even like that he was actually nominated by an HOH. The House put him up. He just lost the veto. He didn't even get to play an HOH competition.
I do sort of agree in the sense that like this was a twist that really favored the majority. The only problem I have with it is that it doesn't really punish the majority. It just punishes Dre, who's just like an innocent bystander who was also in the minority. You know what I mean? But I do agree that the sentiment is still there, where it's like Gary is on the other side of this, and he gets to come back at them. Yeah,
Melissa. Do you think that this would be a popular move if this was to happen this way?
If Dre, or if they were to flip it?
If Dre was to go out on some sort of like a ridiculous swerve here, would that be a popular move? Would that play well?
I don't think it would be a popular move, but at the same time, I think people would be happy to have Gary stay.
Mm-hmm.
Some people. But because he's casual fans, they love him, so I feel like it would be half and half. I think people would be like, "Oh, poor Dre," but at the same time, we have Gary. So,
okay. So, what is the campaigning looking like, Taryn? Is it all like Gary to Ika, or is there a lot of Gary to Demetrius directly?
Well, Gary hasn't actually spoken to Dimitris yet. He tried to a little bit, and Dimitris was like, not tonight. You know, I don't. I'll talk to you later. Like immediately after Dimitris won the HOH, he was like, Gary went up to him, like, we're still good, right? Because they were good before. Because Dimitris was just like, yeah, we're good, whatever. And Dimitris was like, yeah, you know, we'll see. And so Gary was freaking out, but he still hasn't talked to Dimitris yet. He had gone around to basically everyone in the house and done like a one-on-one with them where he was like, you are my number one. I've only ever made a final two with you, so on and so forth. And then everyone compared notes and they were like, he said the same thing to all of us, which didn't really help his case at all. But obviously Ika doesn't care about any of that stuff. So Ika is the only one still firmly in his corner, apart from Karen, obviously. But yeah, he's yet to talk to Dimitris. I don't think it'll go well if he does. I don't think that his style of campaigning will work well with Dimitris. So we'll see.
Leave it to Ika.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, Melissa, talk about the role that Ika is playing here. And has the Six caught on to the fact that Ika is trying to push for Gary to stay?
I don't think they've caught on to the fact that she's pushing for him to stay, but I think that they think that she has loyalty to people other than the Six. So I think they're really suspicious of her, but it wasn't until pretty recently that she was even talking to Dimitris about keeping Gary. So I don't think that they've all caught on unless something has happened while we've been on the podcast, but I don't think they've quite caught on that she is actively campaigning for Gary to stay to Dimitris.
Yeah.
But they don't trust her.
Taryn, would this be a death sentence for Ika if Netta was to catch wind that Ika was trying to leverage Dimitris to get Gary to stay?
Would it be a death sentence? I mean, I think she's already like on death row. So it's like, yeah, I mean, certainly wouldn't help her, but I don't think it would kill her either. I think she's already in a lot of trouble. So, I mean, I think she needs to be very careful. I don't think that keeping Gary even really benefits her that much because she's also pretty close with Dre, and Dre has more connections than Gary does. So I'm not really sure this helps her in any way at all, but I don't think it also would hurt her that much because I don't think she has a lot to lose anyway.
Okay. Speaking of the Six, I'd like to start a new segment on the show where, as long as the Six stays in power, I think that the one thing is going to potentially divide them is this battle for these other minions that are in this group. And I'd like to call this segment hashtag Pawn Patrol. Pawn Patrol. Let's be there on the double, okay? Pawn Patrol. So, Melissa, let's just talk through. Could we start to assign which pawns in the house, which of the newbies are loyal to which of the vets?
I love it.
I guess the one that I'm... Oof, that's tough because I feel like it changes all the time. I think that William...
At some point, whether it's going to be a newbie, like a Karen wins an HOH, and I think it's interesting that like the most contentious eviction battle that we saw was when it was Dimitris versus Mark the first week, where you had vets on both sides, like trying to save their pawn that they were working with. I think it's going to be really interesting if we get these two pawns up on the block, where the house ends up posturing, and if there's a person that Netta wants to keep and Cindy wants to keep, but Bruno and Kevin want to protect that person and send home the other pawn. So that's where the split could potentially happen. I'm sorry to interrupt, Melissa.
It's tough to say, but I think I see William gravitating towards Kevin, Dre gravitating towards Ika. I see Jackie gravitating towards Netta, Dylan gravitating towards Bruno, Emily gravitating towards...
I'd say she's with Bruno too. I think Emily and Dylan are pretty, like, they have a threesome kind of thing with Bruno happening. And
Emily, Dylan, Bruno.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they also have that the Black and Saints alliance with Kevin and Netta involved as well. So they also are sort of in control of those two. Those are the two most valuable pawns on the field. Because they're targets and they're people who are willing to go after other targets. But I think Bruno is closest with them.
Taryn, do you agree with this sentiment that it will be this battle for the pawns that is the most likely thing to break up the six? Or do you feel like it's
Yes.
already fractured between Ika and Demetrius?
Well, it is already fractured, and but we still have, like, Netta is still trying to protect Ika and Demetrius. Emily and Dylan want to go after Ika and Demetrius. Bruno kind of encouraged that, and Kevin has kind of encouraged that, but Netta has said, Bruno and Kevin, let's not encourage that. Let's try to get them off of that. And Bruno and Kevin have been like, yeah, totally. We'll get them to go after Dre and William instead, but they haven't really done that. So we're already seeing some, some mixings of like directing of the pawns, and it's pretty interesting.
Melissa, how official is Emily and Dylan at this point?
Official meaning
Showmantically.
I think very creepy towards Emily. I actually feel really bad for Emily. I think today there was this weird moment where he like cornered her when they were leaving the jacuzzi room. He like cornered her and like touched her back, and she was like, no, what are you doing? I don't want that. And then he asked her like, just give me a hug. And then she tried to give him like a friend hug, and he like kept hugging her. And I was just like, this poor girl, like, please let her get away from him. He wants it so bad, and she does not want it at all, at least from what I'm seeing. So I just feel bad for her.
Okay, so there is that is not teetering towards the Ika and Dimitri zone. No, Taryn's shaking his head.
No, it's not.
He's not sensing a showmance there.
It's a little bit like Caleb and Amber if Amber was like willing to use Caleb.
Yeah. Taryn, can you talk to me a little bit about William? Because I thought that he came off pretty whiny on the show tonight in his interaction with Jackie. I've been disappointed by William.
Yeah, I mean, he's part of the resistance essentially, but he's not like they can't really do anything to resist at the moment, so he's just kind of sitting around. He mostly talks to Dre, sometimes talks to Kevin, and he's not really doing much apart from that. He's on Netta's radar. Netta is really afraid of him because Netta was naming targets and she forgot his name. And then she was like, that's really dangerous that I just forgot his name. And I want to take him out of the equation if I can. She wants to target him before Dre if she can.
Of course, all roads lead back to Netta. If Gary goes home this week, Taryn, who is Netta's next target that she wants to go for? Is it Ika?
It's William. She wants William out.
William.
She wants William out next. Yeah.
Okay. Melissa, is that the right Jenga piece that you would take out of the board if you were Netta?
I think that he's a really strong player in terms of how he blends in, and people like him, and he seems like a non-threat, but I mean, he's shown that he can actually win competitions. So I think that he is a threat to Netta, because I think that he is one of the few people on the other side who maybe isn't so taken with her. I mean, she even said that she never really talks with him at all. She doesn't talk strategy with him. She doesn't talk anything. Everyone was like, well, he kind of talks strategy with me a little bit. And she's like, he doesn't say anything to me. Like, he won't even say good morning to me. So I think that in Netta's position, he's a threat to her. Although I will say that I don't think William's the whiner. I think Jackie is the whiner. I couldn't stand her.
No, you're the whiner.
Oh, no. No. Jackie, she was killing me. She like totally made up this story. And also I thought I said like a lot, but she says like way more than I do. So it is just, she kills me.
There was that segment from last week where Ike said that she kept saying like over and over again. Taryn, I want to go back to Netta wanting to get William out of the house. I mean, for Netta, what political capital is she going to have to spend to try to target William for the next eviction? It's almost like that however enemies she might have in the house right now, isn't by taking William out of the mix, she's going to create even more animosity towards her?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I feel like she just needs to calm down. She needs to stop steering the ship. She needs to take her hands off of the wheel and just hide somewhere, because this is way too much. And I understand where she's coming from, because if you're looking at it from a position of like, I'm untouchable and I'm controlling everybody, then if I remove this piece of William, that cuts off Kevin's, secret, whatever. If she took out Dre first, then William would probably drift over to Kevin, and Kevin would have too much power. So like, and William is somebody that could go after her, and he's somebody that could win competitions. Like, it makes sense. But you have to look at where your standing is in the game, and she is already way too high in the list of like power figures in the house. And as soon as she's not safe, she will be targeted immediately.
I mean, this is Big Brother Canada. It's such a crazy game. Anything can happen. There's so much variance. I just think that you are going to, attract more flies with honey here. William doesn't like Netta. Like, Netta should be trying to win him over as opposed to trying to knock him out of the house, because it's only going to create more animosity towards her and more people that are coming for her, Melissa.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this goes back to the fact that her social game is kind of weak at this point, because she needs to be trying to get everybody to like her, not just respect her game and think that she's this great strategist. They need to like her and as a person. And I feel like she needs to create those bonds with those people in order to move forward in the game. I mean, once she loses her immunity, right away.
Yeah, and I talk about this with Survivor, and I've used Boston Rob and Kim Spradlin as the two examples of this, where and you can do it. You can win a game this way by sort of like having everybody sort of under your thumb and sort of have everybody afraid of you. That's what Boston Rob was able to do with all those new players that he played with back in Redemption Island. Or you can create everybody wanting to keep you around and feeling like they love you and not wanting to let you go out of the game because they love having you around so much. I feel like that's more of the Kim game. And I feel like that Netta is really, it's so hard to do what she's trying to do. And we all love Netta. She's the best. Nobody is better than Netta. We've said it many times, but I just think that this is such an impossible thing that she's trying to do.
Yeah, I feel like she went into this season thinking a lot about the target that was on her back and thinking that she had to do a lot to, make sure she survived that. And then getting the safety on top of that, I think really did not help that mindset. And I think she's overthinking a lot of things and she's neglecting some of the simple things in Big Brother. And that's unfortunate because I know she's capable of it. And I'm still hoping that once the safety runs out, maybe she's targeted. Hopefully she's able to survive that and sort of like regroup and move forward with a better plan of action. Yeah.
It's that thing every season of Big Brother. It looks like, oh, there's this alliance. It's unbreakable. There's never going to be, I hate to say it. She's like in the Andrew Big Brother Canada 2 position. It's like, oh, she's at the head of this big group. Nobody's going to be able to take her out. And like it comes around in Big Brother.
Yeah. Especially Big Brother Canada.
Especially Big Brother Canada. So we'll see. All right, let's get into some of these questions and talk through more of this stuff. Jonathan S. says, what are your thoughts on this blatant pandering underdogs versus Power Alliance edit? Jonathan, I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, you mean how like every single season of Big Brother ever? I mean, that's what the show is. It's everybody who's at the bottom. The underdogs are always going to be the protagonists of the story, and the people that are in charge are always going to be the villains of the story. That's what Big Brother is. There's no other way to tell the story, Taryn.
Yeah, and I mean, to Netta's credit, she recognizes this too. Like, she's like, we're the ones everyone hates, guys. Like, sorry. Yeah. Like, I'm sure they hate me for getting Cass out and for running the house right now, but...
Now, Melissa, I think that we would have said going into the season that, oh, Netta, Bruno, Kevin, Ika, Cindy are all going to be working together in the house and are going to control power. Best season ever. Are you still on board with this? Has it been a fun power group?
I'm on board, but at the same time, I never like to see, I mean, like you said, I never like to see some group just dominate everyone and just take out everybody one by one. That's boring. I would have preferred, actually, surprisingly enough, to have two different factions of vets maybe, and they pull in a couple newbies, and then those two factions like duke it out until the end. That's always fun for me. I mean, I loved where it was just two groups just going at each other. I think that is the most exciting thing that could happen to a season. So
hey,
I was kind of hoping
look how
for that.
exciting BBOTT was, Melissa. Two groups, two warring factions, right?
I think this season is like I think it's total proof positive of the underdog factor. Like if Netta can be taken down by the fact that she is not the underdog, I think it just proves like anybody that is the underdog will be the hero of the season, regardless of who you are and what you're doing. Like it's so powerful in Big Brother. You always want to root for the person that's not in power. We
talk about the reverse Matt Singh all the time in Survivor, but I think that really what you need to do is come into a Big Brother season. I think we probably started talking about this after like Brittany and Sarah did so well in Big Brother Canada 3, where it was like, come in, like be like align yourself with the person who goes out the first week and then be on the bottom. And then you sort of like work yourself way back in. Hey, it worked for Dan Giesling in Big Brother 10, right, Taryn?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's basically what Ika's doing, right? Well, like Ika is almost playing how you should be playing Big Brother Canada, which is she's aligned. She's in the majority alliance, but she's seen as an underdog because she's constantly playing with the underdogs. If she was just a little more subtle about it, she'd be playing perfectly for Big Brother Canada.
That's interesting. Steven in the chat, Taryn, wanted us to talk about the have-not controversy. Could you get us up to speed on that?
Yes, and so this is also interesting given your prediction about the backwards eviction vote, because that's basically what they did with the have-nots. So basically what they did was they had everybody vote, I think with like 10 cookies or something, like put a certain amount of like tokens or cookies or whatever they were into people's jars, and whoever gets the most, or it's who do you want to be a have-not? And so they had to divide their cookies or whatever they were into the things, and they were like, feel free to speak your mind, everyone.
Okay.
As you're voting.
Okay.
And then, of course, in Big Brother Canada style, they aired the votes and like what people were saying as they were casting their votes. And then at the end, they said, okay, Gary, you had the most amount of votes for you, so you are not going to be a have-not. And the people who have the least amount of votes are going to be the have-nots. So people were very upset. And by people, I mean mostly Bruno.
Okay, what about people on the internet? Were people saying that, oh, this was one of these things where, oh, that they didn't want Gary to go on slop? Was there the Big Brother conspiracy factors?
I don't think so. I think, especially given that it's backwards week, it's kind of expected that this would happen. Mm-hmm. And obviously, I'm not a fan of this kind of thing, but even I was like, come on, Bruno, you got to kind of expect this to happen, which is unfortunate because you shouldn't have to expect it because we want people to speak their minds, but you should be expecting it.
Yeah, Melissa, so what was Bruno doing?
He feels like it gave away his strategy. He feels like, and Kevin as well. Kevin was kind of upset as well. He wasn't as vocal about it because Kevin decided to give himself cookies to make himself a have-not, to make himself look like, a target or a victim or whatever he wanted to make himself look like. And, they weren't so thrilled when it was revealed that that was what they had done, is, kind of given out the cookies to the people that they were against. So, or I guess Kevin gave it to himself. They just didn't like the idea that their strategy was put out there in the open.
Yeah, and Bruno had put some points onto Jackie, being like, I want Jackie to be in the have-not with these other people. I want them to go at each other. And Bruno had been putting in a lot of work with Jackie to be like, man, I'm your ally. Like, he's trying to reel her in. And he's like, she just saw that. Like, what am I supposed to say to Jackie now? So stuff like that happened. And then also, I don't know if you have something before I get into this, but there was a Dimitri and Ika thing. That's a whole thing.
Okay, yeah, let me just say last thing on the have-not controversy. I feel like, expect the unexpected, vets. You think you're going to, like, game the system. I like when Big Brother keeps them on their toes a little bit, especially when it's something that doesn't matter, like have-nots. So stay on your toes and let people be cranky a little bit in this house. People are getting too easy of a ride. All right, let's, Aaron, talk about the Gary and Ika drama.
Well, it was Dimitri and Ika.
Sorry, Dimitri.
Yeah. And basically, if Big Brother Canada tells you to speak your mind, don't speak your mind. Do not be entertaining. Do not do things for fun. Do not do things that will be more exciting for the show.
Hey,
in those moments,
I get invited back.
it will get you invited back, but it will also probably get you evicted because they're going to show it. But so basically, Dimitris, while he was casting these votes, made a comment about Aika, saying, I like when Aika is mad, but I want to sleep in the same bed with her. Something along those lines. Like contemplating whether or not he's going to put votes on her. And Aika was extremely upset about this. She felt like this was a comment that showed that he's been playing her and like so on and so forth. And he was like, I'm sorry, it was a joke. It was for TV, but she was not having it for a long time. And it was actually pretty beneficial to Dimitri's game because he just couldn't get back in with her for an entire night, and so he spent the night like socializing with other people, which he hasn't been doing as much. He talked to Bruno and Kevin, and that was really great. And then he won the HOH and totally like trashed his game and got hooked up back with Aika. So
yeah,
whatever.
Power is the greatest aphrodisiac in the Big Brother game. And maybe other places. Melissa, what about for Gary's chances? Did the Dimitris and Aika fight help or hurt his chances?
Well, at the time, he didn't really have any chances. At the time, it was that he was going home and there was nothing. Aika wasn't helping at that point. And then now that Dimitris and Aika are back together, now is when Aika is starting to think maybe I should keep Gary. So it didn't really help or hurt him. Generally, the have-not thing kind of hurt him because people were upset that he wasn't going to be a have-not, and they said that he was kind of rubbing it in their faces that he wasn't a have-not. But the Dimitris and Aika thing didn't really have that much of an impact on him, fortunately.
Okay, let's get back to some more of your questions. John says, is Dimitris attaching himself to a ticking time bomb by showmancing with Aika? Taryn, is that how you would describe Aika?
Sure. I mean, I think there are a lot of different things that you could use to describe Aika, and ticking time bomb is certainly one of them.
Yeah. Ticking time bomb in that she is going to get exposed for her double dealing in the house, or ticking time bomb in that she's going to explode on him?
All of the above.
Yeah. Playing with fire,
Yeah.
Melissa.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, just the way she reacted to his, I mean, it was a joke. I thought it was a funny joke. It was supposed to be cutesy. He even was like, oh, I just want to have someone to cuddle with. Like, that's cute. But she took it as just a total insult.
Yeah.
And she was not having any of his apologies. Anytime he tried to even just talk with her, she was very juvenile about it and was like, I don't want to hear it. It's fine. I'm over it. I'm over it. And it's like, you're clearly not over it if you're refusing to talk to him. So, you know, if I were him, I'd be like, I got to stay away from her. But, you know,
hey,
you can't stay away.
Can't fight chemistry, Taryn.
Yes, you can, though. Like, he was even saying, like, how could she treat me like this? How could she make me feel like this? This is awful. Like, why would I want to be with this person? But then, you know, the next day, whatever.
Hey, look,
I don't get it.
I'll get into it more on the next Patron 5 for 5. Okay, we can explore that more. It happens.
I love that podcast.
Kirsten says, is Kevin spelling rap a sneaky shout out to RHAP? Melissa, no or hell no?
I think no, unfortunately. That'd be pretty cool, but no.
I don't think so. Good try. BB only says, is Aika going to lose the cat ladies when she discusses cat love as an insult? This was directed to me on Twitter earlier tonight, Taryn. Do you think that Aika lost the cat ladies tonight, the feline loving females of North America?
I don't think so. I think the cat ladies like the underdog more than they like cat lovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They like Aika more than the cats.
They love their own cats, and I'm sure they love people who love cats, but they love underdogs more than anything. Wow.
So cat ladies love underdogs? That my mind is blown, Melissa. Didn't they call them undercats? If someone could ever be the first undercat in Big Brother history, they'd be by far the most popular contestant that ever lived.
Oh, undercat is definitely the hashtag.
Yes.
Undercat.
Okay. Undercat has passed Pawn Patrol in the clubhouse right now. Patrick Baker, should Netta use the veto on Dre and vote Ika on the block to ensure Dimitri's votes out Gary? Okay. This would involve the Odyssey traveling further back into time, Taryn. But would
It
you
would.
have liked this move?
No, I mean, I want Netta to lie low. That would be even more or less lying low. It's the opposite of what I want.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Robot Taryn asks again. Not Mr. Robot Taryn and Robot Melissa should do this whole podcast over again with Robot Rob.
Robot Terran, very very courteous. He used my old profile picture, so he looks very different.
Less confusing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to find a way to make mine less confusing.
Well, yeah, maybe you could petition. Mr. Robot Taryn says, "What is up with Karen's unreasonable hate for Kevin and Jackie? Karen keeps dragging Kevin in front of him, and he just takes it." Melissa, I was reading that Karen referred to Kevin as a Jeffrey Dahmer in front of Kevin today. Is that right?
Multiple times.
How is
she has done
Kevin-
this multiple times?
Nice, sweet Kevin, like Jeffrey Dahmer, who I believe killed people and ate them.
Yes, I believe that is correct. Apparently she keeps saying Jeffrey Dahmer was so charming and he was
Was he?
attractive or whatever, and that's why Kevin is just like him. I don't know, but Karen also says a lot of things that I don't really know, so I don't know why she's got this weird thing with Kevin.
Yeah, I guess
I don't know.
according to scoopwhoop.com, Jeffrey Dahmer was one of the 10 most charming serial killers ever, Taryn.
I mean, can you name 10 serial killers? I feel like that's not a hard list to make.
Yeah, I guess that would be tricky. Charming serial killer Kevin. Poor Kevin.
Yeah, like I mean, you're asking us to explain like anything Karen does, which I think is mostly impossible, right? Like she is a legitimate like crazy person. I kind of love it sometimes, but she's like crazy. I have no idea why she does the things that she does. She's just like in her own world entirely.
I'm seeing a lot of people on the chat room telling me to check out things Karen says on Twitter. That's a hashtag, Melissa. Are you following this?
I am not,
Hashtag
but
things
I'm going
Karen
to start
says?
because the things
Okay.
that she says are hilarious. Yeah.
All right. So just read again. I haven't fact checked these. I'm getting vaporized. Hashtag things Karen says. That's not a bad thing to say. There aren't enough our fathers. Okay. She also said, I've got a mouthful of Crisco. Hashtag things Karen says.
Yep.
Hashtag she called
Hey,
somebody flip flop Floaterville.
yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Kevin
Yep.
had a
She
dream
called
about a
Jackie
forest,
that.
and Karen said, "Is that when you were burying the bodies?"
No, come on, Karen. Knock it
Oh
off.
my God.
Knock it off, Karen. Okay. John Heddles wants to know, did Bruno
Karen.
overreact to being named a have-not despite having no tokens due to backwards week? The Six got the better end of this twist. We touched on the Bruno
Yeah.
reaction to that. Tara, would you agree the Six got the better end of this twist?
I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, they got the better end of the backwards week twist for sure. The have not twist, probably not. But I think they're saying that's inconsequential to like the rest of the week, and that's definitely true. And I don't think Bruno should be complaining. And this is what I'm concerned about with Bruno as a player, is that he lost his cool in season 3, and that's sort of what killed his game. I don't think it's necessarily his fault, because that was, there were very, very extenuating circumstances, but he needs to be able to keep his cool in this game if he wants to be able to survive.
Okay. Let's go back to Riley Rage. Was Ika drunk when she nominated 2 house guests, or did production tell her to act like you did when you shred the letters? Listen, I think she was acting on her own.
I think she was acting on her own. I think
Yeah.
that she saw this as a potential big moment. And I mean, if she's used to them doing that thing where they show the house guests what you're saying. So I think that she was thinking, if they're showing them this, I want to make a big thing of it and have it be a moment.
Yeah. All right.
I wonder. I wonder if that's partially why she was upset with Dimitri's about the comment. She was like, all these other people making these comments about other people, like stealing my thunder.
Yeah,
with
he
the we're
stole my
secretly
move.
watching them. Yeah, exactly. And that's
Yeah.
it's tried to. I feel like we're onto something here.
All right. Let's just go back to the two groups in the house between the six and then the people not in the six, the Pawn Patrol. And I want to know when the you know what hits the fan, who is best positioned from each of these groups to be able to make a deep run. So, Melissa, of the six, okay, if it all goes to hell in a handbasket, who do you think emerges of the six?
I think Cindy has a good chance of making it pretty far. I think that she's not really, I mean, people are forgetting that she's in the house. I was forgetting that she was in the house. So I think that she's laying low and doing what she needs to do, but she's also making friends with people and positioning herself well so that when it does come to it, she can kind of slip right through.
Taryn, is Cindy the new Netta?
Is she the new Netta? No, but she's definitely doing what she should be doing. And she could play a similar game ultimately.
If this was Big Brother Canada 2, though, wouldn't Cindy be the Netta right now?
I think William would be the Netta, actually. Maybe that's why Netta doesn't like him.
Oh, that's why Netta's after him.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm joking a little bit. Is Cindy the new Netta? But I mean that. Can anybody complain with Cindy's game? I mean, has she not, exceeded all of our wildest expectations by like 10 million%?
She definitely has. She's doing basically like within the she's basically playing like Steve was a very limited Big Brother player, but he was very skilled at maximizing the skills that he had. And that's sort of what Cindy's doing this season. She's not very good at making a lot of social connections, so she's not really bothering. And that's certainly a weakness in her game, but it's really helping her do what she's not capable of that. She's not capable of playing from a position of power, so she's just sitting back and waiting. And if she waits long enough, then she is eventually going to fire off. And if it's late enough in the game, then she could find herself the winner.
Nobody's coming for her. Nobody's ever targeting her. She's sort of so well insulated where if somebody in the resistance wants to make a big move, they're not coming for her. If somebody in the six wins HOH, obviously she's not going to be a target. Somewhere along the way, she's going to win a resistance or an endurance competition at Final 7, Final 8. She dances in the house. She's likable enough. I just think that she's on such an upward trajectory in this season.
Yeah. I mean, but like, I don't want to oversell her. Like, she is still on people's radars. She has been brought up as a potential target. She's been talked about between Ika and Netta as like, we don't like what she's doing. She was some of her alliance mates were upset because she didn't win that endurance competition. They felt like she could have. So they feel like she's not pulling her weight.
Spending their HOH week on Cindy.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not as though she's like, completely under the radar. Nobody's talking about her, but nobody's gonna waste an HOH on her, essentially. So she is still in a good spot.
Right, she's in a great spot now, and the civil war hasn't even happened yet. The six hasn't fractured yet. The resistance hasn't started yet. Like when there's like a real war going on in the house. Listen, who's coming for Cindy?
I mean, at this point, nobody. I don't think that, I mean, what you guys said, I don't think anybody's going to waste an HOH on Cindy. I don't think she's a big enough threat to people at this point. And it's not like they just did an endurance competition and she didn't win. So I think she's trying to lay low. And I think she's doing a good job of it.
Yeah. You can only lose Big Brother in the first month. Go in there, go to sleep, keep your nose clean, be nice to everybody. It's the only way to get through this first month unscathed. Let's see. Kai says, will this be the twistiest full week of the season? I guess we have to see how this plays out, right?
Yeah, I mean, it probably will be because like most twists don't affect every single aspect of the week like this one does.
Yeah.
So probably.
Our buddy Aman has a question. Is Netta protecting the people that will take her out? Is the core six John Party reincarnated? Fascinating to think. Melissa, are the people that Netta is working closest with right now, will they be the people that will ultimately stab her in the back this season?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I think that they're going to turn on her right away. And I think
Netta,
that she's
we traced the call. It's
protecting
coming from
people.
inside the house.
Seriously,
Sorry.
it's coming from inside of her alliance. They're going to turn
It's
on
coming
her.
from inside the HOH room. Get out, Netta. Get out. It's Bruno and Kevin. They're coming for you.
It's not like it's not really a situation where it's like they're angling to get her out. It's just it's a case of like, if you are so good that you take out every single one of your detractors, then you're gonna create new detractors by the time you finished, and
Right.
that's what's gonna happen. Like, you cannot just power through a game of Big Brother.
I mean, am I reading the Bruno, Netta, Kevin thing correctly? That Bruno and Kevin are tighter than Netta is with either of them, Taryn? That eventually this is a 2-on-1 scenario?
Yeah, that is the case right now. I don't want to say that definitely Kevin will choose Bruno over Netta, because I do think there's a scenario where Kevin feels like it's more beneficial to keep Netta, but he's definitely way closer to Bruno. And if you asked him right now, he would 100% pick Bruno. But I don't want to say that it'll definitely break along those lines, because a lot of things could happen in between.
Melissa, is there a scenario where Bruno goes with Netta to take out Kevin?
I think at this point, like Terrence said, at this point, no, but down the line, a number of things could happen and things could twist around, and there is a situation where that could happen. But at this point, no.
Okay. All right. Let's check one more question. AJ Porter, if nominations are actually safe and Demetrius must vote at one of the others, who do you think it would be? Okay. So if the Demetrius sister theory came to life, Melissa, what would he do? Who would he go after?
That is so tough, because I'm assuming in that situation it'll be a split-second decision where Arissa's just like, okay, and now you're going to have to evict someone else. And that is so tough, because you don't know whether he's going to try and stick with the 6, or he's going to, or maybe him and Ika have discussed it and they decide that someone else is a bigger threat, and then he just goes against the 6. It's so hard to say. I think it's going to be a very split-second, last-minute decision.
I mean, he's working with all the vets, Taryn. It's hard to imagine it would be one of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to imagine it's probably Dylan. He's had this feud with Dylan for a while. He's still after Dylan. Dylan is after him. Dylan is the obvious choice. I think there's a small chance he evicts Jackie instead, because Ika has been really all over Jackie. She really isn't into Jackie. He might think maybe Jackie is a bigger threat because she's not as physically threatening. So it could be one of those two. I would put my money on Dylan, though.
Okay. On the Netta watch, she has 1 more week of immunity, Melissa. Is that correct?
I think that's right.
Do we believe so? Okay.
Probably.
All right. So we will see exactly how this all plays out. So we've got a very fun week of shows coming up. On Wednesday night, Jordan Parhar will be live with Willow McDonald. Did I have that right, Taryn? That's her last name?
Yes.
Don't quiz me on Big Brother Canada last names, okay? Willow will be joining Jordan on Wednesday night, and then he will have a podcast again after the eviction. Do we have a guest on Thursday?
No, I think it's
TBD.
I think it's just yeah.
Don't say just LFC. People love the LFC.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay. And then no matter who goes home, whether it's Gary, whether it's Dre, or whether it's Dylan or somebody else leaving the Odyssey, I will have my exit interview coming up on Friday. And then next Monday night, we'll be back here to do it all over again. All right. So we've got a couple of the hashtag choices. Undercat is the leader. Pawn Patrol, Reverse Topaz. Melissa, in honor of our first podcast together during a Big Brother Canada season, you can make the call.
I'm partial to Undercats, I think.
Okay, the Undercat. Yeah. And I
Paw
moved.
Patrol is good, but
The word underdog is retired in all future Big Brother Canada podcasts, or all future Big Brother podcasts, and we only talk about Undercats now because they're so lovable, so popular.
Beautiful.
Have we checked in? What does Joker's updates do? The Big Brother Canada power rankings, or that's only during U.S. seasons?
they do.
Okay. What
They do, but I think less people vote.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
sample
200
size.
votes.
Love to check in with the Joker's update polls. We have time to do that before Joker's updates.
Yep, I've got it up.
All right, let's okay, let me guess. So who's number 1 at the poll? Oh, this is so interesting. Do they go Netta? Do they or are the Undercats taking over? I'm going to guess Gary is number 1 on the poll.
No, he's not.
Who is it? Is it Netta?
It's not Netta. It's Cassandra.
Cassandra. Oh, wow. I mean, that we don't even take out. We're not even Xing out people that aren't even in the house.
No, they don't do that. They probably should though. The first person who is still
I think they
in the
should.
house, they should. They really should. Get on
Yeah.
that, Jokers.
I mean, I'm not gonna tell you how to run your website. Jokers Update.
The first person on the list that is still in the house is Ika, followed by Gary.
Ika, Gary. Okay, so technically Undercats. Where's Netta in the power rankings?
Netta is all the way down at number 10.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
Okay. All right. So we will see. We will see how that goes. And hopefully, and again, I don't want to paint this. Don't get it twisted, internet and Twitter. We are rooting for Netta's success, but I do not think a victory comes this way. I think that she needs to take her foot off the gas and slow down, get back to the Big Brother Canada 2 Netta game plan. It's not too late. But if you continue this course of action, I do not see a victory in your future, Netta. And so this is my advice to you, but it is with love. And Netta has been a guest on the podcast many times, and I hope to have her back again, not that soon. So get with the program.
Yeah. I love Netta. That my criticism comes from a place of love. I want to see her do well. I hope that she can turn this around, but I'm not sure she can at this point. I'm not sure.
Yes. Again, we're only critical of the game. Okay. All right. And look, we're all professionals here. This should even go without saying, but we can separate the person from the game. That's what we're doing. Okay. All right. So I'll try to get out in front of Twitter tomorrow, Taryn.
It's never enough.
It's never enough. But look, at least I feel like if I'm clear, then then at least sometimes people defend me on Twitter. Okay. All right. Yeah. So great stuff. All right. So Taryn, what are you doing with the rest of your birthday? The next 23 minutes.
Going to sleep, I guess.
Going to sleep. Okay. All right. There you go.
Woo!
Right.
Party.
Okay. And Melissa, it was a treat to do a podcast with you. Looking forward to many more in the future. Okay.
Yes,
and then,
definitely.
Yes, and then be on the lookout for the premiere of the LFC Roundtable coming up this Sunday, where the LFC will get to talk shop about the latest goings on in the Big Brother house. Thanks so much to Scott St. Pierre as well behind the scenes tonight for pulling all of your questions. Looking forward to chatting again with you guys next Monday. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.